Hello, everybody. I am Chibi Joe, and normally this would be the writer's journey, but today we're going to be talking about why I love storytelling. It's going to be very disorganized. I'll have to organize it in post because I don't have a script prepared because I'm not good at writing these kinds of scripts. I'm good at writing audio dramas. I'm good at writing stories, but I'm not good at writing my thoughts. That's why my review channel failed. Yes, I had a review channel, and it failed, and it should have failed. It was terrible. But my love for storytelling has been around since I was a child. My mom used to force us to read. Whether that was her reading to us or us reading to her growing up. That's also why I think I'm good with speaking, is because I read aloud. We were not allowed to read quietly. We had to read aloud. It helped our reading comprehension. It helped a lot of ways. But in that forced reading, I learned to love stories. Whether it was Green Eggs and Ham, or whether it was Stone Soup, growing up into Harry Potter, the Percy Jackson series. I always loved the freedom of storytelling. That you can tell a story through a joke, like stand-up comedians do. You can tell a story at the dinner table, and the fish just always seems to be getting bigger. You can tell a story of the space knights that are training this new space knight to fight his father of this galactic empire. You could tell a story of hobbits getting a ring and having to travel across their entire country to throw it into a volcano. You can tell the story of a war fighting for the throne and all of these different factions coming together at the very end. You could tell that story. The freedom of storytelling is endless and infinite, and that's why I love it. I can do whatever I want, whether it's fan fiction, whether it is an original story, no matter how shit it is, no matter how good it is. I have the freedom to tell it. Just as much as other people have freedom to enjoy it. It's one of the oldest forms of entertainment in our species, is storytelling. And it was probably existing before we were existing. That's so freaking cool to me. That the ability to communicate an event or communicate something beyond oneself, like the stories of old of the Greek gods or the Norse gods or even the Christian God, to be able to whether you believe they actually happened or not, you can tell them, and you can tell people that, and it'll be told to their children and their children after them. You can animate them. Now, it's not like a new thing that they've been animating stuff since the early 1900s, but you can animate them and tell a story through a visual medium, through movies, cartoons, anime, comic books. The sheer ability of how to tell stories has become endless. It's not just the stories you can tell, it is how people can consume them through audiobooks, through audio dramas, through radio play, through music. There have been stories told through music. And you could do that. How do people not find that so freaking awesome? I love storytelling because you can do anything and show it to people however you want, as long as you have, in terms of like art and animation, if you have someone who can do that well, and really not even have to do that well, but do it where they can comprehend the story being told. And that's not even going to break down the different forms of animation, through the different forms of audio dramas and audio books that you can do, the different techniques of voice acting and even live action acting. Like, Not even going to break those down because that even adds more to the list of how you can tell stories. Through your face, through your body actions, through your voice. That's so cool. There's one piece of storytelling. You can even tell a story within a story. Subplots and character arcs. One of the characters that stand out most to me, and people can say I'm looking through rose-tinted glasses or through the lens of nostalgia, and that's fine. That the cool thing about storytelling is you can love a story that other people don't. You could love an underwhelming story where other people see that as a flaw. Because it's the story that sticks with you. The character that sticks with me the most, from even when I was a child into an adult, is Gohan from Dragon Ball Z. Specifically from the beginning of the Saiyan saga to the end of the Cell saga. Because it is not, like, when people think of him turning Super Saiyan 2, I think some people find that such a badass moment. I find that as one of the most heartbreaking moments in anime history, seeing a 12-year-old boy, 11, 12-year-old boy, in so much pain and anguish and anger and shame that he just unleashes out in one unholy scream of anguish. All of that pented up anger. Seeing someone whose reality and morals are shattering because they need to shatter. And you can bash on the English dub, the original run of Funimation, all you want. And I'm not going to say you're wrong. But the narration at the end of that transformation, and I'm not going to say it word for word, but it was through fights with Raditz, Garlic Jr., and even Frieza, that there were moments of Gohan with this, like, explosive power. And, like, it was gone with the moment. Like, once Gohan calmed down or whatever, like, the threat was deemed gone away, then there was this peace within Gohan of, like, okay, I didn't eliminate the threat, but I removed it from the immediate danger. And now it's been harnessed. Now that energy that kept on trying to get out is now unleashed. And one of the most heartbreaking but beautiful lines ever spoken, and in the really badass voice, was, "And now, Cell fights a warrior 11 years in the making on the next Dragon Ball Z." That's gotta be so heartbreaking for Gohan, that he has been trying so hard to be a pacifist. He's been trying so hard to be a good person. He's been trying so hard to do this and that. And he just isn't able to. That's storytelling. That's a character arc. Starting from this scared, cowardly child into a person who needs to be pacifistic. And into an unleashed warrior filled with fury and sadness. I love it. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. And yes, the Bruce Faulkner soundtrack of the weird drone thing does not give that feeling of rage and pain. Gohan's anger does, but it wasn't played in that initial scene. I can't remember the Japanese name, but the Team 4-Star Spirit versus Spirit, I think, fits a lot better. The Japanese soundtrack of that scene fits a lot better. There's a lot of things I like the Faulkner soundtrack more, but that one is definitely given to the Japanese soundtrack. I adore storytelling. I adore the freedom it gives you to make people cry, to make people scared, to make people rethink how they see things. That scene from Dragon Ball Z of Gohan Super Saiyan 2, the tears are going upwards as he is still crying. And then the tears stop. And then it's ready to fight. That scene stuck with me all of these years. I don't know how old I was when I first watched it. I'm 29 now, so you guys do the math. I think every writer should want to have a moment like Gohan turning Super Saiyan 2. Not like an exact copy of it, of course, but the sheer impact that that scene has on people who watched it as a child, and that the visual of Gohan just letting everything out all at once. People should remember that. And that should be their goal, to have an impact that big that 20-something years later, that person still remembers the emotions that they saw, or that they felt when they saw that scene, or read that line, or whatever. So, I guess my call to you guys that are watching this: read a story. Any story. It doesn't have to be a big one. It could be a short story. Those exist. They exist for that purpose, is to have a quick read. Read a full novel. If you really want to commit, read a full novel. And if you wish to really, really test your merit, write a story. Write a story that you believe. Write a story that you feel for, that ignites emotions in you that you forgot. I love storytelling. And the one thing I love about storytelling is that no matter what changes in this world, whether morals change or perception of realities change, or laws change, or whatever, we will always have storytelling. Have an awesome day and a good night.